Hi, good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you to Poem Praise 2 and peace and blessings be upon you and your family this afternoon. Now for this afternoon, we are going to go ahead and get into Lies My Teacher Told Me by James Lowen. We are in take number 8 of chapter number 3, which is entitled The Truth About the First Thanksgiving. So without further ado, take number 8, it reads as such. In their pious treatment of the Pilgrims, history textbooks introduce the archetype of American exceptionalism, the notion that the United States is different from and better than all other nations on the planet. How is America exceptional? Well, we're exceptionally good for one thing. As Woodrow Wilson put it, America is the only idealistic nation in the world. And we're exceptionally strong and hardy too, as we face the future. In the words of the American pageant, the world's oldest republic had an extraordinary tradition of resilience and resourcefulness to draw on. Never mind that tiny San Marino may have formed as a republic in AD 301. Iceland became a republic in 930, and Switzerland around 1300. These stellar qualities are evident from the beginning. Here at Plymouth Rock, according to our textbooks, the Pilgrims were equipped. Borstein and Kelly informed us, with just the right combination of hopes and fears, optimism and pessimism. And I don't know if I said that correctly. I'm going to spell it Pessimism. Self-confidence and humility to be successful settlers. And this was one of the most fortunate coincidences in our history. Such a happy portrait of the Pilgrims can be painted only by omitting the fact about the plague, the possible hijacking, and their Indian relations. To highlight that happy picture, textbooks underplay Jamestown in the 16th century Spanish settlement in favor of Plymouth Rock as the archetypical birthplace of the United States. Virginia, according to T.H. Breen, ill-served later historians in search of the mythic origins of American culture. Historians could hardly tout Virginia as moral in intent for. In the words of the first history of Virginia written by a Virginian, the chief design of all parties concerned was to fetch away the treasure from thence, aiming more at sudden gain than to form any regular colony. The Virginians' relations with American Indians were particularly unsavory, in contrast to Squanto, a volunteer. The English in Virginia took Indian prisoners and forced them to teach colonists how to farm. Forced them to teach them a trade. So, yeah, I'm going to just repeat that just for reiteration purposes. The English in Virginia took Indian prisoners and forced them to teach colonists how to farm. In 1623, the English indulged in the first use of chemical warfare in the colonies when negotiating a treaty with tribes near the Potomac River, headed by Chiskiak, and that's Chiskiak. The English offered a toast symbolizing eternal friendship, whereupon the chief, his family, advisors, and 200 followers dropped dead of poison. Besides, the early Virginians engaged in bickering, sloth, even cannibalism. They spent their early days digging random holes in the ground, hapless looking for gold instead of planting crops. Soon they were starving and digging up putrid native corpse to eat, or renting themselves out to American Indian families or servants. Hardly the heroic founders that a great nation requires. I'm just saying, I'm just gonna have to let that sink in just for a couple seconds, y'all. We just go have a moment of silence and just let that sink in regarding the fact, cannibalism. Yeah, wow, digging up stuff and grubbing on. My. Goodness gracious. Okay, we're gonna continue on. I had to just, you just had to think about that for a second. Like, for real? For real? Okay. Textbooks indeed cover the Virginia colony, and they at least mention the Spanish settlements, but they still devote 50% more space than Massachusetts. As a result, and owing also to Thanksgiving, of course, students are much more likely to remember the Pilgrims as our founders. They are then embarrassed when I remind them of Virginia and the Spanish, for when prompted, students do recall having heard of both. But neither our culture nor our textbooks give Virginia the same archetypal or archetypal ARCHETYPAL status as Massachusetts. That is why almost all students know the name of the Pilgrim ship, while almost no student remembers the names of the 3 ships that brought the English to Jamestown. For the next time you're on Jeopardy, they were Susan Constant, Discovery, and Godspeed was the name of the ships. Okay? For those 3 ships. Okay? Despite having ended up many miles from the European enclaves, the Pilgrims hardly started from scratch in a wilderness. Throughout southern New England, Native Americans have repeatedly burned the underbrush, creating a park-like environment. After landing in Provincetown, the Pilgrims assembled a boat for exploring and began looking around for their new home. They chose Plymouth because of its beautiful cleared fields, recently planted in corn, and its useful harbor and brook of fresh water. It was a lovely sight for a town. Indeed, until the plague, it had been a town, for New Plymouth was none other than Squanto's village of Patuxet, Patuxet. The invaders followed a pattern. Throughout the hemisphere, Europeans pitched camp right in the middle of native populations. Cusco, Mexico City, Natchez, Chicago. Throughout New England, colonists appropriated American Indian cornfields for their initial settlements, avoiding the back-breaking labor of clearing the land for forest and rock. This explains why, to this day, The names of so many towns throughout the region: Marshfield, Springfield, Deerfield, end in field. Aaron into the Wilderness may have made a lively sermon title in 1650, a popular book title in 1950, and an archetypical textbook phrase in 2000, but it was never accurate. The new settlers encountered no wilderness. In this bay wherein we live, one colonist noted in 1622, in former time hath lived about 2,000 Indians. And we're going to end take 8 right there. Certainly want you to stay tuned for take number 9 here on Poem Praise 2. Certainly hit the like button, share, subscribe, and the notification bell. You'll know when I'm coming with something new for you here on Poem Praise 2. So, I would like for you to be well, to take care, to be safe, to be blessed, and be it thy will. I'll talk with you soon. It is I, Poem Praise 2, signing out to you. Till next time. Later, y'all.